So guys, one of our more difficult lessons on verbs tends to be the lesson that we're doing called active and passive voice verbs. Part of what can help you in this lesson is if you actually take the words active and passive and think about what they just mean in general, not even as applying to grammar right now. So let's just take a minute and let's examine those two words for a second. So let's start off with the word active. If someone or something is active, that means that they are, doing something. Okay, so here we are. I want you to meet my little friend here. My friend's name is, hold on. My friend's name is Subject. Everybody say hello, Subject. Hi, Subject. Okay, so this little guy's name here is Subject. So, Subject is active right here. And so what we're going to do here is we are going to give Subject some boxing gloves, or a boxing glove. Okay? All right, there's my absolutely wonderful, beautiful boxing glove. And so because Subject is very active, he's doing something, okay? Let's give him one on the other side because that just doesn't seem right that he just has only one boxing glove, okay? Subject's doing something here. He's boxing. He's going to be punching some people in the boxing ring. So he's very active. His feet are always moving. He's got the jabs going. Okay, so remember that in this sentence, subject is active. He's boxing someone out. All right, we'll move on to passive. So now let's talk about what the word passive means. If someone's passive, they're not really doing much of anything. You kind of go with the flow, just, whatever. So to show or illustrate, what passive can mean, we've got my little guy here. His name's still Subject. Hello, Subject. Okay. But in this sentence, Subject is tired. So what we've got going on here is Subject is asleep. Okay. Snoring. He's snoring. He's not really doing anything. Okay. So I want you to think about these two things as we are thinking about how to apply these things to grammar. Okay, so here we go. We've got active. Subject is boxing people. Okay, so just as in the word active, when the subject, when the verb is active, the subject is the one doing the action, okay? But when a sentence is in the passive voice, it means that the subject is not doing the action, okay? So let's practice. Let's do a couple of practice ones here so you can kind of see how to help you figure out if it's active or passive. Okay, so now, here we go with an example of an active voiced sentence, okay? We've got the little boxer guy up here, to remind you that active means the subject is actually doing the action. Okay, so here we are with our example sentence. Excuse me. Miss Williams teaches awesome students every day. Okay, what you want to do to help you decide whether a verb is in the active or passive voice is you want to, first of all, find your verb, okay? So we're going to find the verb, which is teaches, okay? Now, remember, if it's in the active voice, the subject is the one that's doing the action. So you have to stop and think, okay, the subject is Miss Williams. Is Miss Williams the one doing the teaching? Well, yes, she is. So that makes the sentence in the active voice because the subject is the one doing the action in the sentence. Miss Williams is doing the teaching. Therefore, that's in the active voice. Okay, now, here we are with an example of a sentence in the passive voice. Here's my little subject guy up there, and he is sleeping because he's the subject of the sentence, but he's not doing anything. So let's examine the sentence, okay? You always want to find the verb first, okay? So the verb this time is were taught. It's a verb phrase, a helping verb plus the main verb. So the action in the sentence is the taught part. So who's doing the teaching in this sentence? Are the students doing the teaching? No, they're not. The students are not doing the teaching. So, because the students, which is the subject of the sentence, are not doing the action in the sentence, this is in the passive voice. Students were taught by Miss Williams every day. Miss Williams is still doing the action in the sentence, but Miss Williams is not the subject of the sentence. So again, that makes the sentence in the passive voice. Next, we will look at how to change sentences and rewrite them between active and passive voices. So here's an example sentence. The students love English class. First, you want to figure out whether this sentence is in the active or the passive voice. So you find your verb, love. The subject is students. Are the students the one doing the loving? Why, yes, they are. Of course, they're loving English class. So that means this sentence is in the active voice. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about how to change a sentence from active to passive, okay? So first of all, the most obvious thing that needs to change is going to be the subject, because in a passive voice, right now it's active, and we need to change it to passive. And in the passive voice, the subject's not doing the action, so the students can't be the action anymore. So you're always looking for what you can swap between the verb. Okay, so whatever's on each side of the verb, you're basically going to kind of flip-flop along with changing a couple other things. But the simplest thing you need to remember to do is to change the subject. So instead of students being the subject of the sentence, it's going to become English class. Okay? Oh, I didn't realize I was still recording. Sorry. Okay, so basically now we start with the words English class because that's going to become the subject. Okay, so the first thing that needs to change between active and passive voice is the subject of the sentence. The next thing that needs to change is the form of the verb. You're going to keep the same like main verb of love, but when you're changing from active to passive, you have to add in a form of be plus ed. Since this sentence is in the present tense, students love, you would say English class is loved. Okay, so again, the verb just changed from love to is loved. The other thing when you're changing from active to passive is that many times you use the word by, which is a preposition. And then you tell who the verb, or who was actually doing the verb, but now it's becoming the object of a preposition. So, English class is loved by who? Well, of course it's loved by the students. Okay, so by the students now becomes the ending of the sentence as opposed to students being the subject. So, this sentence at the top is in the active voice, and this sentence at the bottom is now in the passive voice. Okay, so to review, two things have to change when you're going from active to passive. Excuse me. Active to passive. The first thing, the subject must change. The second thing, the verb form must change. Okay, so changes for active to passive. So if you guys remember to change the subject, let me get my highlighter, change the subject of the sentence, swap that out with what's around the verb, and then also to change the form of the verb. So remember, love became is loved. Okay? And hopefully that will answer any questions you might have. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Bye.